Joining us. The way this is going to work today, we have the chat up there. We have Derek here. We have Will here. What's going to happen is we have a new video they put together, Flipgrid Fun for everyone, and they are going to be showing this video to you, and the whole time they are going to be here answering questions. So if whether they want the video stopped or paused or whatever, we can do that. Otherwise, just type up your question in the chat and they're going to be answering all your questions directly. So it'll be very, very interactive. This chat is going to be active as well and part of the recording. So without further ado, let's get ourselves started with all this. Derek, Will, you guys ready?
Oh yeah, we're ready.
All right, here we go.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Flipgrid Fun for everyone. My name is Derek Beal, and
I'm Will Navis.
And we're really excited to talk to you a little bit about Flipgrid today and how you can use it for your program.
So one of the things we're going to do is we're going to cover what we're learning today. And for us, it's the why and how to use Flipgrid to enhance your PE program.
And why is that so important? Flipgrid will hopefully change the way you teach, whether it's in person, remote. Okay, hopefully it'll add a lot to your program.
And how are we going to learn it? How will you know that you've learned it? Well, we're going to leave you with ideas of how you can use Flipgrid effectively for both in person and remote.
All right, so a little bit about us. Like I said, my name is Derek Beal. I was born and raised in Western New York. Right now I'm in my 4th year of teaching elementary PE in Canadian Prairie School District at Patterson Elementary School in Naperville, Illinois. Right now I am fully remote and I have about 500 students. I think a little bit more because I also teach half a day at another school, although it's still remote. And I'm a huge fan of integrating technology. I've presented on a couple times with IAFER and different conventions around Illinois. I'm a big fan of Flipgrid, obviously.
And again, I'm Will Navis. This is now my 18th year of teaching PE. The last 14, I've been an elementary PE teacher. I am currently serving as my district's remote PE teacher for all 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders who have opted for that. It's about 600 students over about 20 classes. I am an IAFER past president, and in 2013, I was selected as the IAFER Elementary Teacher of the Year. And like Derek, I love Flipgrid. I love Kahoot and Goose Chase and all things Google. If I can do technology, I will do technology.
Awesome. And so with Flipgrid, Will and I both have some past experiences using Flipgrid. How I use it, I think Will is pretty similar with this. I used it before COVID happened and we were all face-to-face. I saw my kids 3 times a week, 25-minute classes. And sometimes I would have a couple double classes in there as well. So one specific thing I did with Flipgrid is I used it for skill assessments. It worked out really well in my scenario. I used my projector every day. So what I would do is I would put a skill assessment that I made in Google Slides. I'd put it up on a projector and all the kids would see it. And one example is during our jump rope unit with 4th and 5th graders, I had them come up with their own jump rope routine. So on the screen, I put a little not yet, almost, got it, and wow rubric on the screen for the kids to see. And I said, all right, we've been learning jump rope tricks for the past week. You've learned some in your previous years in PE. I want you to spend the rest of this week coming up with your own routine. I think they had to have at least 4 tricks with clear transitions to get it. If they had at least 5 with clear transitions, they got a wow, so on and so forth. And what kids would do is based off of that rubric, they would then perform their jump rope routine into Flipgrid. And I should have mentioned, I also, I'm at a school that has one-to-one technology. Before COVID, it had that for 2nd through 5th grade. Right now with COVID, we have it K through 5. So every kid brought their Chromebook. I think one specific example with the jump rope routine that I shared on Twitter was a double 4th grade class. I had about 66 students in the class at the time, and they're all just spread out doing their jump rope routine into Flipgrid, practicing it. And then once they got a video that they liked, they submitted it to me, and I was able to go back and review all their routines and give them feedback based off of it. And it was really nice, really simple. I also did it for my create a dance routine that I do with 5th grade. So K1, 2, 3, 4, we learn a bunch of dance moves, and third and fourth, we kind of progress them into coming up with their own dance move to like a certain 8 count, like a couple 8 count rhythms that we come up with as a class. And then in fifth grade, they're on their own. They come up with their own dance with a small group, and they pick their song. They get to choose the moves, and they record it through Flipgrid. And it went awesome. I had a lot of kids who were a little nervous dancing in front of others. So this kind of gave them a chance to be by themselves, focus on only their dance without a bunch of other people watching. Because what I did, and we'll explain it later in the video, is I turned on the video moderation. So I was the only one who was able to see the videos. So they were submitting the videos right to me. Or if certain groups said they all wanted to share out their video, I would just make their video active so the rest of the class could see it too. But it turned out great. Also, like I'm sure most of you, you get kicked out of your gym every now and then. So I use Flipgrid a couple times for classroom PE. So one of the ones I found on Discovery, it used to be called Disco Library, was How the Good Spreads. And it was a really cool lesson about spreading kindness and kind of how you can show that off. So I had the kids use Flipgrid to show ways that they could spread kindness while they were in their classroom too. A nice way to incorporate SEL and to just get them involved.
And for remote learning this year, it's been interesting. I like Derek doing face-to-face. I used it in a very similar manner for assessments. And occasionally I would have them just respond to a question prompt, but not very often. But for remote, I've had to kind of tweak that a little bit because I can't see them perform the skills. When I've got them in Zoom or in Google Meets, I see them in about like a 1 inch by 1 inch square. And to watch a student try and throw in that little square is not going to be feasible. So I use it almost for observation purposes, along with assessments, of course, but that skill monitoring has been quite important. The first unit I did was a throwing and catching unit. And with that, the first one was catching. I was just doing catching challenges, toss to self using just your dominant hand, toss to self, alternating, toss to yourself with a clap in between, just a whole bunch of different things. And I would have them upload a video, or they would record themselves doing those different challenges. Because again, when they're on that small screen, I can't really see exactly what they're doing. Sometimes the ball disappears from the screen and then they're gone while they're chasing it or whatever it might be. But what Flipgrid allowed them to work at their own pace to be able to record that. So if they did toss the ball and it rolled away from them, they could scrap that video and start over again. And that way they could submit a video that they were proud of that demonstrated their skill. Additionally, with the throwing unit, as it continued into the throwing, fortunately, we still had some good weather at that time. And so a lot of them would go outside and set up a target, usually a laundry basket. Some would use an outdoor, a tree that was outside. And then I was able to watch them throw. And if I were to think about being in our gym setting at school, I could walk around and watch where their feet are, or watch them step with the opposite foot, watch what their throwing arm is doing, where are they looking, is their body turned, things like that. And in order to do that here, I can do that with Flipgrid. And I can pause the video to see where they're stepping. I can pause the video to see, did they turn their body? Is there an actual follow through? And I'm able to monitor those different components of a throw all through Flipgrid, where I could, and it becomes similar to what it would be like in the gym. Obviously, I can't pause the kid while they're throwing in the gym, but it allows me to be able to go step by step and see what they're doing. What I've also been able to do is kind of increase the amount of exit slips and check-ins I've been able to do. When I was in person last year, I would do this maybe once a unit, but probably even less frequent than that, just because, as you guys know, our time flies by, whether you're high school, elementary, whatever, that time flies by, and you don't want to pause even 5 minutes at the end of PE to do a quick check-in video. And so what I've been able to do now is I assign it for them. They can do it any time during the week. A lot of them kind of wait to the end of the week so they've gone through the lessons, and it'll just be a quick question prompt of, what did you struggle with this week? Or what did you feel successful this week? And they can just record themselves kind of talking for 30 seconds or whatever it is I want that length of the video to be, just for them to kind of explain what they feel like is happening. I'm also able to do kind of exit slips or check-ins regarding how they feel about that particular skill. I am almost ready to do our assessments at this point, right? We're recording this in October, and I'm ready to do the assessments here in about a week or two. And what I plan on doing is, along with the video showing me their throwing, I'm going to have them at the end of that, before they submit it, include at the end of that video clip how they felt they did. do they feel like they met the grade level criteria? And I'm kind of excited for that because, again, it'd be something like in the gym where they were done with the assessment. I could pull them to the side and say, hey, how do you think you did? And this way I can do that again. And I'm really excited for that opportunity. And then as we wrap that up, we are, oh, yeah.
I was just going to say, what we're going to do is we're going to kind of cover the basics of Flipgrid here. We're going to go over what it looks like from the beginning, and we're going to show you what our Flipgrids look like. So let's dive a little deeper and check it out. So when you first click on, or when you go to flipgrid.com, you're going to see the homepage here, and you're going to have to go up here in the top right corner, and you can hit educator login if you'd like, or you can hit the educator sign up. We're going to hit educator login, and we're going to log in first under my school account. So let me log out of my personal account here, just so you can see what ours looks like right now with all of our classes in it. So I'm logging in under my district account, and you can see all the stuff up here. And Will, you want to take them through the little dashboard there for us?
Yeah, so up across the top, there's discussion, discovery, activity, mixtapes, and we're just going to briefly talk about each one. We could probably do a session on each one if we really wanted to, but we want to kind of give you a broader overview of Flipgrid. So the discussion tab is where you're probably going to spend the vast majority of your time. It's where you're going to create your groups, your topics. You can see here on Derek's, this is organized by topics. And so you can see cardio drum routine for each class that he has, and it goes on to the next one and so on. And the topics, or I'm sorry, the groups rather, he has it organized where he's got the class name at the beginning. He also put a banner color to help identify which grade level it is. And he'll talk more about that in a little bit. But yeah, discussions where you're going to spend most of your time as you're working through Flipgrid and creating those topics for your students. Then with discovery, Derek kind of alluded to this earlier. Discovery is where you can get a lot of inspiration from what other people have already done. You can search for specific topics or specific subject areas, grade level areas, and just kind of be inspired that way and to find out what other people have done and maybe not recreate the wheel, but tweak the wheel that you find. And both of us have done that from time to time. Then we've got activity. Activity shows what you have, I guess, accomplished using Flipgrid. You can earn badges based upon how many responses your kids have done, how many videos have been uploaded overall, how many hours have been logged in engagement, all these different things. And so it kind of keeps track of that for you. It's kind of fun. And I'll be honest, I personally take some pride in to know, like, the first time when my students had logged 24 hours of video engagement, which just, I was like, wow, they really are enjoying this and really getting into it. They're not just going through the motions. So activity is kind of fun to just kind of see how you're doing and keep track of those sorts of things. For mixtapes allows you to pull videos that your students have created and create kind of like a highlight reel of videos that you want to highlight, to show as examples. If going back to like Derek's jump roping skills, if he had a younger grade, let's say third grade, and he wanted to show some fifth grade examples, he could pull together 4 or 5 really good video examples, put it into one long video clip and share that with his groups. And then that way he's got a perfect demonstration for those kids to watch. You could also, and this is, talked about when you are giving good examples of assessments, you also want to give examples where it's not meeting expectations. So you could pull that in as well if you wanted to. Then with shorts allows you to edit any videos within Flipgrid. So let's say that you were making a video for a topic, and we'll talk about that a little bit too later on. But if you're creating a video of yourself explaining what the students are going to do with that topic, and you sneezed halfway through, then in here you could kind of pull that chunk out and make it a little bit more smooth. Not that we ever do that, right, Derek?
Ever.
And then lastly, we have Grid Pals, and Grid Pals is kind of fun because you can search for other Flipgrid users. You can search for what grade levels they're in. So if you want to connect with other elementary teachers, you can even look at subjects. And there is a health and PE subject area that you could find people in Illinois or wherever you're at watching this presentation, you can look for other people using Flipgrid in your area, or just reach across the United States. Derek has my name in here, and I'm on Grid Pals. There I am, Mr. Navis, right there in St. Charles. And with that, you can send me a direct email through Flipgrid and contact me with any questions you have. And that's kind of a fun way to stay connected and to see who else is out there. And I think if I remember at the top, before you do any searches, it tells you how many people are actually using Flipgrid, which is kind of a cool idea to think about.
Yeah, and one other thing, if you're not interested in connecting with other people, you can make your account hidden here. So that way you're not going to show up in a public profile for other people. But if you're active, you can click active and you can show. But yeah, so Will did say a lot of our time we're going to spend is in this discussion portion here. So right now, this can look a little overwhelming. I can see my different classes here. Right now, I have a 4th grade group doing their cardio drumming routine. So I'm getting videos coming in on that. I apologize if you hear emails going off. Or you can view it by topics. So we can see my different Flipgrid topics here in my different groups. But this can be a little overwhelming for someone just starting off with Flipgrid. So we're going to sign out and we're going to log in under my personal account. So I also have a Flipgrid account just under my Gmail account, just to show you what it looks like when you first start up and create your own Flipgrid login. So when you log in, it says, welcome to Flipgrid, and it wants you to create a topic and share a join code just as like a way to get started. What we're going to do is we're going to create our own group, and Will and I both organize Flipgrid through groups. So groups, how we like to play around with it is it's your class. So for example, I have 4 sections of 5th grade, so I'll create 4 5th grade groups in Flipgrid. You can do it by grade level. It's however you want it. But what we're going to do is we're going to click this create a group button, and then it gives you an option. Do you want this group to be private or do you want it to be public? So private, say I want it to be one of my grade level classes, maybe 5S physical education. All right. I can then, it comes up with a join code. So it uses my last name and a couple numbers. I could change this out. Maybe I want to put 5S PE or maybe 5S physical education as their join code. I can change that out and the kids would be able to type that in on Flipgrid and automatically join. It'll then ask, how do you want the kids to log in? Do you want them under a student username or the email? We recommend using email address. We think that's the best and easiest way to do it. And then what you just do is you would hit next, and then it's going to ask you what email domains do you want Flipgrid to allow into your group? So for me, I teach at Indian Prairie School District, so at ipsd.org. That way I'll let my school email address in. And then for students, I think it's at k12.ipsd.org. And then I would let that in, and I would allow it to go. There's also a guest password to make it optional. So what that is basically maybe you want your grid to be private, but you want to allow in a couple parents or a couple TAs, so on and so forth. If you click and turn that on to green, you can then create a password. I'm not going to create one right now, but I would create a password and I would share that password out with the certain people I want to be let in that don't have that email domain. Now, we're actually going to kind of allow you to explore Flipgrid a little bit by yourself. So we're going to create a public group. So our public group, we're just going to call Flipgrid Fun with Will and Derek. And we're going to come up with a join code. Since we're presenting this for IAFERD, let's go IAFERD 20 as your join code. Okay, so check it out. It's even available. So our group name, Flipgrid Fun with Will and Derek, it's public. That means anyone can access it. So if you're watching the video right now, what you can do is you can hit pause and you can go to flipgrid.com, type in or click on the join code, type in IAFERD 20, and it'll take you right to our Flipgrid or right to our group. So once I click next here, it should take us into our group. Although for some reason that didn't save. So let's try that one more time. So Flipgrid Fun with Will and Derek. And then IAFERD 20. I apologize for the technical issues. From use. So there we go. Next. And then right here, also, if you didn't find the join code button in Flipgrid, what you can do is you can type in flipgrid.com/IAFERD22. when you're sharing out your join code with students, you can also share it through Google Classroom, Microsoft Teams, or Mind app. You can just copy the code. You can do a QR code, whatever works best for your situation. So we're going to go to that group right now, and we can see our group is made. So just so you know where to find that, notice it's got Derek or discussion, arrow, Flipgrid Fun with Will and Derek. So if I click back in the discussion, we can see our group labeled right here. We're going to go in and edit that. So you can edit it by clicking on it and going over here to actions, edit group. Okay, you can also edit it by hitting actions over here, edit group, or you can hit this pencil. So we're going to click on the pencil, and we can change out the title. We can change out the join code. We're going to leave that the same for you so you can get in here. You can change if you want it public or private. Now, status, this is a cool feature. Maybe when I created all my groups for the beginning of the school year, I made them all hidden until the start day of school. So I could make them hidden so that way no one could find them, no one could see them. So we'll leave it active for right now. So that way when you watch this video, you can check it out. Group followers, we just tend to leave that one off. And then you can personalize it. So you could create your own banner if you would like to through Google Slides, Canva, whatever you would like to use. Make sure it's 1500 pixels by 500 pixels. And you could click and drag and drop it in here just to personalize it. Like you saw my banners for all my school had my Bitmoji in it. But we're just going to do, I think Will's favorite is the kayak, right, Will?
Yeah, and I do create my own custom ones for my students. But yeah, I like the kayak one if I'm doing a test one.
Yeah, so the kayak is a cool little feature, and it's blue, and it's nice and pretty, kind of active. So right there, we're going to update the group. So now we can see the group has this right here for you. We can see the join code. We can add a co-teacher or co-pilot. So let's actually add Will Navis as our co-pilot. Will, would you like your IAFERD email here? Or
yeah, let's do the IAFERD email.
Will.IAFERD.
W Navis.
Oh.
That's okay.
W Navis at IAFERD.org.
Yep.
Perfect. So now Will is a co-pilot and can check this out.
Oh, I don't have an account with that. So yeah, do my school email.
Okay. Let's try this again. School email, William.Navis, right?
Yep.
At, what is it, SD303?
D303.
D303.org. All right, cool. So now he's a co-pilot and he can join in. Check it out. We can see he's pending the invite. He can accept that later for us. Cool. So we're going to create a new topic under here. Topic is kind of like a question or an assignment. So we're just going to click this add topic. We can see there's 0 right now. There's 0 students because none of you have joined yet, besides me right now as a teacher. So we're going to add a topic. And we're going to get started. We're just going to say title is going to be Flipgrid Fun. And our prompt is going to say, and this is basically our directions to you. So it says, for this topic, 1, we want you to introduce yourself. So introduce yourself. Okay. 2, and you might use this for your students just to give them a little extra reminders for your assignment. Tell us your experience with Flipgrid. So tell us your comfort level with Flipgrid. Okay, and 3, share a funny story about your year teaching so far.
I'm really looking forward to that one.
Me too. And Kelly Zerby, if you're watching this, please share a couple stories for us. So then you can add in the recording time. So I'm going to give you all, we'll just say 1 minute and 30 seconds to record. So it'll cut you off at 1 minute and 30 seconds. For me, and I'm assuming similar with Will, I like to leave my recording time for students about 30 seconds to 1 minute the longest, just because if you have 500, 600 students, it's a lot of time that you're going to be watching videos, depending on how many classes you have using Flipgrid at a time. But it's whatever works best for you. You can go all the way up to 10 minutes. You can do closed captions on here, which is kind of cool. Topic moderation. So we mentioned that earlier. What this does is if you put it on, when kids submit a video in Flipgrid, what will happen then is their video will be hidden. No one will be able to see it until you accept the video, until you say that it's appropriate and it's good to go for Flipgrid. So For example, I said with my dance unit, I had my topic moderation on so that no one else could see the videos unless those kids told me, Mr. Beal, we want everyone else in the grade level to see the video. And that way I could give them a little sense of privacy with their dance video too. So nice way if you got kids who are a little camera shy, don't want to share out their stuff for everybody to see, just for you to see, this is the way to go. Media, we'll cover this a little bit more, but basically it's a way to engage your audience. I like to add silly little GIFs. So let's add some Tom Hanks waving. Let's see if this pops up. So right here, we're going to add Tom Hanks here. So we just want to say hello and get to know a little bit more about you. So I tend to put little silly GIFs in there. Will found a really cool video of a kid kicking, or a cool GIF of a kid kicking the soccer ball. You can also add in your own videos too, depending on what you're doing. We'll cover that a little bit later. Access control, we normally just leave that off. And then more options, you can add a link. So maybe with this, I wanted to attach a slideshow that I made in Google Docs, giving you more directions or an example. I could attach that link here. I can give it a title. We can make this topic active, hidden, frozen. We're going to leave it active so everyone can see. We can actually schedule it. So Will, this presentation should go live December 1st, right? So December 1st, and then we'll say it is open forever. Okay, so we're just going to leave it open for ever here, or never, and it will never freeze on you, because we're going to check this video in a couple years to see if you've added any more stuff. And then you can say topic features, whether you want to receive notifications for this. I normally leave off all notifications because I don't want to receive an email every time a kid sends in a video. Will, I'm assuming similar?
Yeah. Again, with how many students each of us have, like it'd be overwhelming. Just
100%. So download and share, we're going to turn that off. I always leave it off for students because I don't want them to download other kids' videos. Topic followers, I leave that off too. And then video features. So this is where and you'll see this when you dive into this topic, but you can actually edit the video in certain ways. You can put in selfies or videos only. You can leave text comments or video comments as a new feature, which is really cool when you're giving feedback to students too. So you can play around with this. Attachment links, you can allow students to attach links. We're going to leave all this stuff open for you so that way you can play around with it. View count, I normally leave this off for students just because I don't want it to be a popularity contest for them to see who can get the most views. But we'll leave it on for you. Likes, we'll even put that too. And sticky notes. I want you to have a bunch of opportunities to play around with this. And then this feedback portion here. Will, do you want to quickly explain this?
Yeah, this is something relatively new. It got added sometime this school year, but I'm not exactly sure when. And so I'm still kind of playing around with it myself. But the basic feedback is what has always been there, where once you watch a student's video, you can record your own video response to that student. You're saying, great job. I like how you did that skill. I like how you guys cooperate with each other, whatever it is. And you could leave that feedback, which is very time consuming. If you think about it, if you're going to leave even a 10-second video for all your students, it can be very time consuming. This custom feedback is where you can create kind of like a rubric where each criteria you create can tie into something specific. And I'm not going to go into it too much. At the end of our presentation, Derek's going to talk about some resources that we've put together for you guys that we've kind of gathered up. And one of it will be a video kind of explaining this custom feedback. So look for that at the end of our video.
Cool. Thank you. So we're going to go ahead and create that. Also, one other cool feature, if you like these settings, anytime you create a topic, I advise clicking this little save changes to my default settings. So that way, every time your default settings will be set to this. Okay. So we're going to create that topic. It's ready to go. So again, if you didn't already join our group, now would be your chance to pause the video again. You can type in flipgrid.com, this / and then this little portion here. It should pop up for you. When you share it with students, we do things through Google Classroom, share it through Google Classroom too, Teams, Remind, whatever you end up doing is fine. So we're all set with it. We can see right now video. Oh, the topic is moderated. Okay. I'm actually going to edit that right now just because I don't want to have to moderate all your topics or all your responses. But we can see here now, another cool thing of feature of Flipgrid is it has this immersive reader. So for my littles or K1s, when they're using Flipgrid, I always recommend at the end of our live lessons for parents to click this immersive reader and it reads the instructions for them, which is really cool. So our kids are pretty used to that. It shows our join code and it shows right here what you'll see is it says start the discussion, and you'll click record a response. You might see a little red camera over here in the bottom. Okay, so that's open for you to go and explore. And we're not going to cover student view because we want you to go and check that out. All right, so Will, you want to take over here?
Yeah. So obviously you spend all this time creating this great topics and this content for your students. How do you introduce it? And I think that's like one of the major hurdles. Yes, you can put all this work into it, but if you don't know how to bring it to your students so they can be engaged in it, then it's kind of not worth your time, right? So like Derek said, we both use Google Classroom, but this can work in Seesaw, Schoology, Canvas, whatever you have. You just might have to tweak it a little bit, but the concepts will still be the same. So what I did at the beginning of the school year, again, a vast majority of my students had never used Flipgrid before because they were in different schools. I got kids from 11 different buildings. And so I needed a kind of a simplified way to share it. So I had always instructed my students that when you want to find something, always go to classwork. And yes, it's posted in stream, but it can be disorganized and it can get messy. But for classwork, it's all there. And Derek's going to quickly sign into my school account so that you guys can see what this looks like. So when you click on classwork, if you guys don't know this for Google Classroom, and I think it's the same way for pretty much anything like Seesaw and Canvas and such, you can organize by topics. And so we've got this Flipgrid topic that my students know about. It's in all my classrooms. And the first thing I did was I shared a link to the Flipgrid group. And I did that because I wanted the students to recognize that this Flipgrid that we were going to work with belongs to them. It's not all 600 students of mine. It's their class's content only. So that's what I did for the first time. But after that, I now share the direct link to them for that topic. Again, we know that in remote learning and even in-person learning, our time flies by, whether it's 25 minutes, 30 minutes, 50 minutes, whatever it is, that time flies by. And anywhere that you can save 5, 10, 15 seconds even can make a huge difference. So by saving one extra step, by sharing them that direct link to that topic, they click on it, it gets them right into that topic. They can read the directions like Derek showed you just a little bit ago, and then they're ready to record, they're ready to go. And it has saved a lot of time. And I'll be honest, that first day when they were clicking on that group, and even the next time when they were clicking on the direct topic, there was a lot of problem solving going on. I'll be honest with you on that and be prepared for that. But now that we've used it for a couple of weeks now, they are very proficient. They know how to get in and they do it quite well.
Yeah, and I think that goes with pretty much everything with now new learning after COVID. We're basically establishing routines from the start. So the more practice, the easier it's going to be for all of us. Yep. So this part here, Will, you want to also walk them through how we use it for field day?
Yeah, again, we all had very unique experiences, right, back in the spring. And as our school district was navigating the end of the school year, there is some talk about, should we do field day, should we not? Is there too much on our plates? Things like that. And going through that, the kind of belief was like we were not going to do field day because it was too much on our plates. We're still trying to figure out, are we trying to do curricular work? Are we trying to do choice boards, whatever it was? And it was, I think, about 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks before the end of the school year, my principal contacted me and said, I would like you to do a field day, a virtual field day. And that threw me for a loop because I had no idea what I was going to do. And fortunately, it was literally like a day or two prior, I had noticed that Derek had posted on Twitter how he was going to do field day. I was like, I know Derek. I'm going to reach out to Derek and see if I can borrow his template. And he said, yes. And of course, Derek, it wasn't even his original idea, right, Derek?
Yeah. So shout out to Becky Fulmer. Like most of the stuff I ever do, she helped me set this up. Well, I came to her with the idea that I wanted to do field day, and I was trying to plan out how I wanted to do it. I got this Google Doc all set up, and I was like, yeah, but I want the kids to have some sort of like reward for getting field day, because normally we have some money through PTA where we can get the kids their little tchotchke based off of like my theme for the year. So Becky came up with an awesome idea. Will, you want to talk about this?
Yeah, and so the template was created, and Becky created it. Derek first changed for his stuff, and then I got the template. I added our Lincoln Leopards logo on there. I love that little Lincoln figurine, so I added that on there. I use that for like all my publications. My students know that. And I just kind of tweaked it to be mine. And again, we both want to stress there is nothing wrong with borrowing someone else's idea. Just make sure you give credit where credit is due. Like I fully say, this is not my idea. This is all from Derek, which came from Becky. So we want to make sure we give that credit. But just real quick, I put simple directions on there. I wanted a brief time frame of when field day could be accessible because I didn't want to overwhelm myself, but then also I wanted to make it kind of feel like you wanted to move forward with it as best you could. I included an introduction video, and we'll see that in just a second. Because again, I hadn't seen the kids for about 2 months and they hadn't seen me. And so I kind of wanted to reconnect that way. And then we put in 10 challenges in there. 8 were kind of a physical challenge, if you want to think of it that way. And then I reached out to our art and music teachers, and they wanted to get in on the action too. And so I included a challenge for each of those as well. And then down there at the bottom, I know it's kind of hard to read, there was a link for a certificate that Derek kind of talked about. We wanted the students to have tangible kind of evidence that they did something amazing. Like no one has ever done this stuff before. No one had done field day virtually before. And we wanted them to kind of feel successful in that venture. And so it was a simple Google form. I think it was like 3 or 4 questions, if I remember correctly, just real simple. And then using Autocrat, which is a Google extension, we were able to create a certificate and it would email directly to them or put into Google Drive. Again, this session's not about those things, but if you want kind of some insights on how that worked, by all means, again, reach out to us or to Becky Fulmer. She'll be more than happy to help you out too. Sorry, Becky. But yeah, we will always be willing to help out. So when the students were here and then they went to the Flipgrid for field day, this is what they would see. And right now I've changed the settings to public so that Derek's able to get in. I had originally set it just for my students and our staff. But you can see right there where it says it's great to see all of you again. That was my welcome video. It was real short. I think it was like maybe 30 seconds long, just saying, hey guys, I missed all of you. And fortunately, my wife was doing all the videos for me. Shout out to Elizabeth. Without her, I can't do these sorts of things. And then my 3 boys, my demonstrators.
I want to quickly point something out. Earlier, we talked about the media when we were creating our
Right.
topic and how we can use the media to engage our audience. This is a great example of how Will used that media section, and he uploaded his own video to engage his students. So just a thing you can check out when you start exploring Flipgrid for yourself.
Right. And so I had organized each challenge with the different topics. And Derek's going to click on that right now, and you can see all of them right there. When we look at like challenge number 1, for example, you can see the students have their lists or you can see all the students' responses. I included another video I kind of talked through how that was going to work, and my boys helped demonstrate it. And so that way they kind of got that feel of me being there and showing them what it would be like for field day. And then they got to engage, and it worked out really well. And what was great too, is they could choose what challenges they wanted to do. They weren't required to do all 10, of course. They could pick and choose which ones they wanted to do. And it was a lot of fun, and the students would be done and they would get their certificates when they fill out the form. I also wanted to include our staff, because when we were in person, our field days, our teachers would come out and they'd be with their students and they would engage in those activities. And so I wanted that opportunity for them again. And we did have a couple of teachers who, with their own families, engaged in the field day activities, which was just outstanding to see.
Yeah, and like Will said, I also did this too, and it was a big success, a really fun way to do it. If hopefully we're at some sort of normalcy around field day next year for both of us, if by chance we do have to do remote field day, this would be a great avenue to try that out again. So hopefully that can spark some ideas for you as well. And then lastly here, just to wrap things up, we have some resources set for you here. So I put together a couple links for you and a couple videos and blog posts that basically cover things that we didn't want to take up a bunch of time to cover in the presentation, say, and you can explore it for yourself. So under leaving feedback, how we were talking about that criteria portion and that basic feedback and custom feedback, Will's got a little Google folder set up here. If you click this link, it will take you to that Google folder. And then that will show you exactly what that's talking about. Just dive a little bit deeper in there. Also, I'm a pretty visual learner. So I like to watch YouTube videos or video tutorials to figure out how to do different stuff. So I put in different videos in the top row here that you can check out to kind of learn and explore how to do this different stuff. So if you want to learn the feedback, there's video here, mixtapes, YouTube video, Grid Pals, Discovery Shorts, give you some more information, dive a little bit deeper in there. Or if you're not that big of a video person, also Flipgrid has their own blog. You can check out their blog, and I put links into the blog all through here that you can check out and explore at your own convenience. Because like anything you do, you can watch presentations, someone can walk you through how to do something one time, but until you start diving into it for yourself and until you really figure it out how it's going to work for you, it's probably going to be tough. So just dive right in, figure it out, reach out if you have questions. And speaking of that, if you want to contact us, you can pause the video here, check out our Twitter handles. We're both pretty active on Twitter. Reach out to us via email too. We're happy to help. Like Will said earlier, borrowing people's ideas is awesome, okay, because that's how we all learn and grow. Reach out, ask questions, and we're totally happy to help. And hopefully you found a couple things that are useful to you in this video. And take care, everybody.
Yeah, thanks for watching.
All right. Thanks, everyone, for joining in and hanging out with us tonight. Hopefully you found something that was a little bit helpful here, or just at least to spark some ideas for you. Will, I think
hello.
Stay on. Right. If you have any questions, let us know. Reach out. I did post that resource link in the chat too. I know people are typing in the chat right now, so you might lose it. I'll post it here in a second as well, just in case you lost it already. But yeah, thanks again.
Yeah, it was awesome to have this many people come out on the first ever kickoff session for iAFER's digital convention. You know, hopefully we never have to have one of these again and we can get back to in-person conventions, but it was great to see how many of you guys pre-registered and have this many come into the Zoom call. And so like now this would be like at convention after our session's done, as you guys, some of you file out to go to your next places. Some of you guys stick around and ask questions.
By the way, Will, just before people file out, I just want to give a quick shout out. None of this would be possible without the guy behind the screen right now, Bill Casey. Thank you so much from all of us here at this presentation. We know the amount of work you're putting in for this, and I can sincerely say this would not happen without you. So genuinely, thank you so much for everything you're doing for everybody.
Yeah, and like Becky just put there in the chat, the iAFER convention is lasting 3 months, December, January, and February, with new sessions rolling out every month, about give or take 30 sessions each month. And it'll be just like convention, ranging from elementary through high school, adapted and health, dance, you name it, we've got it coming. Just make sure you check the iAFER website from time to time to see what updates there are, and look for the sessions that you want to find.
And I guess one last thing before we get into Q&A. I know I tried to message a couple people directly, but if your name, like Bill was saying, if your name's not your name on here, and it's maybe like, I don't know, some sort of device or numbers, please direct message Bill just so he can make sure to get your PD hours in correctly, and he can change that for you. All right. Does anyone have any questions? I know there's a lot of people on here, so you're welcome to just unmute yourself and just chat away. I need that Cricket app on my phone.
Hey, Will, the question I was asking you about earlier, does that happen a lot that you have to individualize a couple hidden for kids?
So I would say over the course of this year, I've had maybe 5, 6 parents reach out to me saying that they're not comfortable with their kid being recorded and then stored on a website, which I get that, and I'm always willing to accommodate that. And so, as I said in my response to you, Bo, what they do then is they just use their iPhone, an iPad, whatever, record it on there, and then they email it to me. So it's not very common. I'll be honest, with my field day that I did have the videos moderated. Looking back, I have no idea why I did that, but I had to go back in and click all of them to be active, to be visible, and that was a pain. And I learned from that mistake. I don't think there's anything wrong with moderating the videos. You just have to make sure that you have the time then to go back in if you want them to be visible. I do like that. I was actually going in through today and looking at my student comments that they leave for each other, and they're amazing. Like, hey, so and so, I really liked your kicking form. I loved how you did the 4 components of a good kick. And you can't get that if you are moderating the video. But again, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. It always goes back to your philosophy, what you're comfortable with, what you want to get out of Flipgrid, what you want your students to get out of Flipgrid. But on the same hand, we need to be able to respect what our families want, especially in this digital age, being at remote. Maybe they don't want a recording of their house, what's inside the house, and we got to be respectful of that. So I'm always willing to find a good solution that works out for everybody. And again, like I told you, it does then take some extra work for me to go back and go through those emails and look at those videos separately. And I don't get the fun features of like the custom feedback or the rubrics, things like that. But again, it's not about me, it's about my students.
Did either one of you guys send anything kind of like home to families, like, hey, this is a platform that we're using, this is how it's going to work, this is what is expected, or you just kind of rolled right into it?
So for me, at least, Indian Prairie School District, we have we call it our single sign-on, and it's the page that the kids log into where they see all the apps and stuff that are district approved. So Flipgrid is one of those that are on there. And to be honest, just the culture of my building, a lot of our classroom teachers use it as well. So most of my kids are used to it. I didn't send anything home. I did have one email, just like Will said, of a parent saying like, hey, my daughter didn't submit her Flipgrid video because we don't want a third-party website having information of her. And I was like, totally understandable. I get it. And same thing as Will. I asked if there was any way that I could do the moderation one first, because I didn't know if that was the issue, if other kids seeing her stuff was the issue, if maybe she felt uncomfortable with that. And they said it was no, just information sharing. So I asked if they could send a video, or I think for that Flipgrid assignment, what it was a writing prompt, or it was like a community building prompt. So it was like, tell us about yourself, some of your favorite things, and how you like to stay active. So that specific one, she wrote it up in a Google Doc and sent it to me. But with the next one I did, the cardio drumming, they just took a video of that person doing the activity, and then they sent it to me in an email. But I haven't had too many issues with that. I don't think you would need to send up a little write-up, but if you do, I don't think it'd be too hard to just put it in a quick Google slide and send it out. I will say one thing, just honestly using Flipgrid and I have a little over 500 students because I teach in 2 buildings, and with over 500 students, it's a logistical nightmare if you're going to send it out through all K through 5. So at the beginning of the year, I did that, and I had to watch 500 different videos, and honestly, it was a nightmare. But it took some time. I got through it. My advice moving forward is do it with like a specific grade level at a time, or if you're covering a unit, say you're doing, for me, I was doing cardio drumming. I only did it with 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. K1, 2, I gave them something else that they would do. And that way it cut my video time in half, or you could even chunk it up to where you're only doing 1 grade level at a time. And also I normally have my grade book up on a separate device. So while I'm watching the videos, I can check to see their videos scored in my grade book over here while I'm watching it. And then I come back to it and just keep going through. So just a helpful time-saving tip, hopefully.
I want to quickly highlight what Becky just put in the chat. Derek and I have worked with Flipgrid for like 3 or 4 years or something like that for each of us. And so we are very comfortable with it. If you are just starting out, try it with just 1 class and don't overwhelm yourself. One of my great friends and a former PE teacher who now works with Chicago Bears, Gustavo Silva, he always talked about taking 1 step at a time. Try something once, see if you like it. If you do, build on it. And that's what I've done. I've tried tech things that have not worked out and they've gone by the wayside. But start small and then build from there. And realize and understand that there's a whole wide network of people who are more than willing to help you out along your journey.
I kind of have a question. And maybe you addressed it, but I was trying to take a lot of notes too. I have used Flipgrid, and I know that you said it's a great tool for skill assessment. So then you're going in then and watching each video yourself then? So you have several hundred kids that you're watching that for as well. Okay, good. Your nod is letting me know that. So yes. My other question, yeah, I know that was what was kind of challenging for me, because at least when everything's in Seesaw, then I feel like it keeps track of what's been turned in and what I've written all in one spot instead of having to go back. And is there a way? There's not a way that does that in Flipgrid. That doesn't, right? You have
so it depends. So one of the new things that they added just this year was that custom feedback. And,
right. Okay. Yeah.
And I did make into that. And it was brand new. I think it came out like the week before we made that video.
Yeah, that was actually really frustrating.
Yeah, it was.
Video, and then they added something new. We had to recreate the video.
Yeah. So then I made a video about it probably about a week or so after we made this video. So like early November or so, I made that video. And since then, I've learned a lot about it. And I could easily do another one. But what happens then once you do that, you kind of set up a rubric. You can set up to score it between 0 to 100. And in our district, we use a 1, 2, 3, 4, 3 being meeting expectations. And so I score everything 1 to 4. And once I've given that feedback and I mark it a 3 or 2 or whatever, then on the screen that shows all the students in their videos, there's a column that says feedback, and I can see 3 out of 4, 3 out of 4, 2 out of 4, and so on. So it is organized that way. But like Derek said, I use Google Sheets for my grade book. And as soon as I'm done, I put that in there as well, just because I know I don't want to have to go back and look at it all again right then and there. But yeah, and I'm not very familiar with Seesaw, but I know that Seesaw is more of like a learning management system. And so it has a lot more tools in it that can be better organized for that purpose. But Flipgrid, yeah, it can work for assessments. Just you got to sometimes be creative with how it's going to work. And yeah, the first time, I was gung ho back in August I was watching full 1.5-minute long videos for my 600 kids, and my wife would come and be like, "What are you still doing?" And then I've kind of changed my time management. So like I have 5 minutes between each class, and I've got 30-minute classes. And so in those 5 minutes, I'll get like 1 to 2 done. And it gets a lot, but then I'm able to kind of chuck away some of those. And then I also am fortunate that I see my students twice a week. Well, I see them twice a week, one synchronous and one asynchronous. So on my asynchronous days, which I had today, and I will have another one tomorrow, I will be watching videos. We just started gymnastics unit and doing different balances. And so today and tomorrow I'm catching up on my videos.
Yeah, we don't have that. One suggestion that I can make is that when I use Flipgrid or when I do any videoing with kids now, I throw them in individual breakout rooms to create their video. And then they're not being bothered by the noise of everybody else. At least the littles, the first graders and second graders, get upset when other people's voices are in their videos. So I throw them into individual breakout rooms, and then when they complete their video, they pop back in the main screen, and I start another activity with people when they're done. So
that's excellent.
Tammy, question with that, just curious. You got me thinking. So if they're, for example, I don't know if you use Zoom or Google Meets, but like if their camera's on for Zoom while you're teaching them, and then they put them in a breakout room, are they able to use their Flipgrid camera as well to record while the Zoom camera's on?
No, they turn their camera off in Zoom, and then it goes on in Flipgrid. They have to turn it off for Zoom and on in Flipgrid, but it keeps them in Zoom. They're still in Zoom just with their video off.
That's genius. No, that's really great. Thank you. I will say, with trying to keep track of stuff, like if you're just looking to see like who did the videos and who didn't do it, I don't know what you use. Like I'm assuming just Seesaw to push stuff out too. I push out all my Flipgrid assignments as an assignment in Google Classroom. And what I've trained all my students to do, because they're still doing it, let's be real. But anyways, what I tell them to do is after they complete the Flipgrid, to go back into Google Classroom and turn in the assignment. So that way when they turn it in, that way I'm notified saying like, oh, Billy Bob just did a Flipgrid video. I need to go in and look. So I don't know if that helps or not. I don't know if that's possible in Seesaw either, but just.
I don't know. I mean, it could be possible. It's just a matter of getting the kids, like you said, training them to do it.
Yeah. And honestly,
but the individual breakout rooms are awesome, Derek, because I also think I noticed that sometimes when I was rewatching the videos, my voice was in the background too, trying to assist another child or trying to call them back to task. And I'm like, so it was nice to send them out and have something
Well, and if I'm being completely honest, like I'll push out a Flipgrid as an independent assignment to like review a skill or something like that. And sometimes, like while I'm teaching my live Zoom, I'll see a kid muted in the corner, like standing up, like doing some sort of thing that goes along with the Flipgrid video. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, dude, I can see you in the Zoom doing the Flipgrid, and then it's submitted while your live Zoom time is going on right now. So the breakout room might at least cancel that idea out for me. So thanks.
Yeah, we can't. Our district doesn't allow us to give them extra work to do outside of PE class during this time. But thank you.
Thank you.
Going on field day, I love that so many people used it for field day. We used it for field day as well. And here's another great idea for people. You know, the open field day, if anybody was familiar with those activities that Open pushed out for field day. I worked with my student council and the 5th grade leadership team, and they recreated those videos. So they were making the instructional videos, and I pushed those out as the Flipgrid videos. So that was, you know, that video you say you could push out there as a sample video. So they were teaching the kids the game in that video, and then the students came and played field day. It was awesome. It was a huge hit.
That's actually, those are the videos that I used as well. I used Opens, and I just recreated them in my living room with iMovie, and then downloaded the iMovie and uploaded it as like the media portion. But all those field day videos that they post out for Open were fantastic resources.
Yeah. Thank you very much, guys.
You're welcome.
All right. Does anyone else have any other questions, comments, concerns for the good of the order?
Can I just ask one question?
Yeah, of course.
I use Flipgrid a lot because I teach lifeguarding. I work in a high school, but during the spring, I had the kids, I delivered CPR mannequins to their house, and then they did the Flipgrids on their own in their homes. The thing I didn't know, and I'm trying to find it, I opened up my own account here to see, I didn't realize that my comments that I put on their videos that everybody else could see. And I was just like, oops. But how did you do that? Because I don't know where that is. I'm sorry. I'm trying to figure out how to turn it off so they don't see like the whole class. I don't want the whole class to see my comments. Like, you know, that was really bad. You should do this type thing. Some of the kids weren't too happy. They're like, oh, we saw those comments.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, but where do I don't see where you were talking about that.
So when you click on like and for the record, that might also be a setting under your topic. So like when you create your assignment or your topic, when you hit a little edit topic button, there's a button in there. I got my Flipgrid account open that says comments. So there's an option under like the Essentials tab. It says students can respond to other students using the video and text comments, and you can turn that off to make sure they don't respond to each other. But it sounds like your question is, how do you leave like a private comment to that student, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. So for that, I believe, and I'm going through checking the Flipgrid that people have added to right now. So I'm looking at like Magara's video, and you can add a public comment there where it says that. But I know on my Flipgrid for my school account, there's a private comment feature. I'm checking. Oh yeah, under feedback. Mm-hmm. So when you click on their video, you'll see details, feedback, edit, closed caption.
Yep.
If you click on the feedback, there's a private comment there, and you can type in a comment, and that way it only goes directly to them.
Okay.
I will say those private comments, you either have to email them or give them a link to it. And up until this year, our students had an email address, but they couldn't access their email because they were at school, and they didn't want the elementary students to access email. So I was not able to do private comments. And so I had to get very creative. And what I would do was, and I couldn't give like specific feedback, which was kind of a bummer. But what I would do was when I was done, and I'm looking at a couple of the videos here. If you notice, like there's a little thumbtack next to the videos. So I would click on that thumbtack. It used to be a star, which I really miss. But I would click on that thumbtack and it pins the video. And then I would use that to say, okay, kids, I watched your video. You did exactly what you needed to do. Well done. because I couldn't leave specific feedback that they could actually see. And then
Okay.
unfortunately, and I felt really bad about this, if they did not, the only thing I could do is delete the video. And I felt so bad. And I explained to my
Oh,
kids with all earnesty, I don't want to do this, but it's the only way I can, because otherwise you have no idea unless I pull you aside. But when I've got, again, 30-minute class periods and I've got, 25 kids in the gym, I can't pull you over and say, I need you to redo the video to all those kids that need to redo it. Whereas, because I also, in the gym, I'd be watching those videos as they were uploading them. So I felt really bad about that, and they understood that. Now, since we're doing remote, our students do have access to their email, which makes a huge difference. What I do is I use the custom feedback. It was a really simple process. Once I kind of understood how it worked, and in the video you saw that I had that test PE group for Google Classroom. I have a test PE group for Flipgrid as well. And I was just playing around with it for, I don't know, maybe an hour or so, just trying to see what it would look like from my side and the student side and things like that. And it makes a huge difference, because in that custom feedback, like for kicking, for example, I can leave, I got those 4 core components that we use for kicking, and I can score each one 1 through 4. And then I can email that feedback to that student, and they immediately see, this is where I'm at. I need to work on this. I'm good with this, whatever it is. And it's only for them. So I'm thankful our district allows our elementary students to get email now. I'm hoping that they will let that continue. I'm hoping.
yeah.
But so that's how I've been able to do that.
Okay. Well, and that would take, I mean, I don't have as many students as you guys have, but yeah, emailing that many students, that would be.
Well, and I don't know what you push out your Flipgrids through, like if it's through Google Classroom. If you
Yeah,
push,
it's Google Classroom.
my advice would be to leave them a comment on the assignment of Google Classroom. So
Yeah, that would be better.
Train kids to turn in that thing, and I don't know why it's so tough, but if a kid turns in that thing and you return it to them with a comment, they'll, depending on their notification settings, they'll get a notification saying that their PE teacher just left them a comment on their assignment.
Right.
And that way it's private directly to them too.
Yeah. Okay. That's actually, that will work then. Okay. I was just like, I did not realize that all the kids could see my comments. I'm like, oh my word. It wasn't bad, but they knew that somebody didn't do something right, and then they were making fun of them. And I'm like, you guys. So it was a disaster with that. But anyway, okay. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Welcome. So noticing the time, we are over an hour here, and we want to respect everyone's time, whether it's getting to bed to get ready for our school day tomorrow, or being able to go on to the next video. So on behalf of Derek and I, we just want to say thank you to all of you guys who came out. A big thanks to Bill Casey for running the tech side for us. A big thank you to Becky and Mark Fulmer, who are, they do everything for PE tech-wise. Reach out to them, of course. If there was a question that you wanted to ask that you didn't get a chance to because we're out of time, just, reach out to me or to Derek. We are more than happy to help. If we don't know the answer, we can find someone who does, probably Mark or Becky, to be honest. And then again, I also want to say thank you to Iford for giving us the opportunity to be the kickoff session for our convention. Again, it runs 3 months. Enjoy it. You get, I think it's up to 16 hours for professional development hours this year for convention. So use that up.